It's no secret that humans are embedded with primal instincts. Darwinists and religious followers alike have acknowledged the existence of similarities between men and animals for thousands of years. Many advanced societies, from the ancient Greeks to colonial Europe, have taken great pride in their ability to practice self-control and separate themselves from their innate urges. However, while many boast of their conquering of carnal pleasures, the reality is that we all struggle continuously to exercise self-control. The medieval era is an excellent setting to explore this theme, as it represents a time of freedom of men, but also the development of more cohesive governments in Europe. Tennyson's 19th century poem, Balin and Balin, is set in the era of King Arthur and represents the two sides of every knight, primitive impulses and unconscious decision-making that involves a reflection and inhibition of those impulses. So what differentiates man from animal? When men learn to work as a community to organize their resources, collect them in surplus, men surpassed animals became a society. The architecture-based setting of Camelot represents the structure, thought, and effort put into building a developed society. Great Gothic halls wouldn't be able to stand without the collective manpower it takes to stack brick on brick, and the variety of buttresses supporting the weight of the ceiling and walls. We first meet the brothers Balin and Balin outside Camelot, representing their non-adherence to societal rules. Balin reveals his unmelodious name, Balin the Savage, because of his previous violent endeavors. But underneath his violent past, Balin aspires to be a better man. He was so ashamed of his violent acts that he often inflicted physical punishment upon himself, and he often expresses his gratitude for his more chivalrous brother, Balin. Balin also shows that he's ready to participate in the common good. He wants to be part of the more structured lifestyle of being a knight again. He went without a king for 3 years and found that time to be wormwood bitter. The need to follow a king represents that being in society requires the following of something larger than yourself. Arthur says, "As children learn, be thou wiser for falling. Walk with me and move to music with thine order and thy king." Music is a man-made entity that often requires the collaboration of multiple different men and instruments. And moving to that music represents the following of civic order. By saying, "walk with me," he's encouraging the knights to join his cause and set aside their own selves. They should be chivalrous knights that act on behalf of the state rather than their own personal feelings. Now, although the brothers have different names, they're pretty hard to tell apart. Their names differ by one letter, and the night that Balin was exiled for hitting another knight, Balin, his more mild-mannered brother, went with him. The first time the brothers separate in the story is when Balin goes on a quest alone into the forest to kill a demon wreaking havoc. Balin stays in Camelot and is left without his rational, controlled brother to keep him in check. Balin, alone in Camelot, eventually loses control and runs to the woods, not to find his brother for help, but to release his pent-up aggression on killing the demon himself. The wilderness represents an environment without rules, where a man must fend for himself and his instincts can run free. Even though his brother is out there, symbolizing that his chivalrous side of self isn't gone, Balin has succumbed to his wild urges and is no longer putting in the effort, quite literally, to find it. When the brothers meet up in the dark woods, under their armor, tragically the brothers don't recognize one another. Each think the other is the demon and fight to the death. Only when both men are gravely wounded do they realize who their opponent is, and Balin says, "Good night, true brother, here. Good morrow there. We're two born together, and we died together by one doom." The wise Balin explains that the two natures are intertwined, and the fault of one can bring down both. Both exist in one man, but existence of a conscience isn't enough. One must constantly put forth the effort into their moral, rational self. Consider reviving a mentality focused on achieving a greater good, rather than the preservation of the self. When faced with the choice, recognize we all have a Balin and Balin inside of us, and make the effort to choose the option that benefits those around you rather than the option that brings instant gratification. Thanks for listening.